Welcome back to another Roblox Studio tutorial. In this video, we're going to take a look at GUIs, and specifically, we're going to take a look at mouse enter and mouse leaving events. So the way this works, if you have a GUI on the screen, you can use the mouse enter and mouse leaving events to detect when the mouse enters or leaves the object. So for example, when the mouse enters this object here, we can display a message. And then when the mouse leaves the object, we can make it invisible. Alright, so let's go ahead and dive in and see how we can do this in Roblox Studio. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is add a screen GUI into the game. To do that, we're just going to click on the UI button right here. After we do that, we're going to click on Screen GUI. For this example, I'm going to use an image label, but you can use whatever you want to. I'm just going to move it down to the bottom part of the screen right here and make it a little bit smaller. For the image part of the image label, you can either upload it yourself or get one from the toolbox, which is what I'm going to do. For the drop down, I'm going to select Images. In the search box, you can search for whatever you want to. I'm just going to search for info. And I like this one right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on it. After you right click on it, you're going to select the bottom option. After you do that, we're going to locate the image label in the Explorer menu. And we're going to scroll down until we see this section right here, the image section. We're going to clear the text that was there already and then paste what we copied from the toolbox. After we do that, we should have the image loaded right here. The other part that we're going to add to the screen GUI is going to be a text label, which is where we're going to display our message. So we can do that by clicking on the plus sign and then clicking on text label. Go ahead and drag this next to the image label, and then you can resize it to whatever shape you want to. To change the look of the text label, you can use the properties menu. And I'm just going to change a few things. So I'm going to change the background color. I'm going to choose a light gray. I'm also going to make it a little bit transparent, so let's try 0.5. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then down for the text section, I'm going to make it white. I'm going to select text scaled. And the other part that I'm going to do is change the text stroke transparency to 0. Okay, and finally, before we start with the script, I'm going to rename these two objects. So for this one, I'm going to rename it to info. And for the text label, I'm going to rename it to message. Alright, so now we can start with the script. So we're going to add a local script inside of the screen GUI. The first thing we're going to do is make variables for these two objects right here. So for the first one, we'll say local info, and that's going to be equal to script.parent.info. And then we'll make one for the text label. So we'll say local message, and that's going to be equal to script.parent.message. What we want to do next for the script is detect when the mouse enters this object right here. And there's an event for that. So what we can say is info.mouseEnter connect. We're going to connect this with a function. And all we're going to do inside this function is change the visibility of this message. So to do that, we can just say message.visible is equal to true. So that's for when the mouse enters the object, and then when the mouse leaves the object, we want to make it invisible again. So to do that, we're going to say info.mouseLeave. We're going to say connect, and then function. Inside this function, we're going to say message.visible is equal to false. And by default, we want this message to be invisible, so we can do that right up here. And what we're going to do is we're going to say message.visible is equal to false. So when the player first turns the game, it's going to be invisible. And then when the mouse enters this object right here, it's going to make it visible. As soon as the mouse leaves the object, it's going to be invisible again. Alright, so let's go ahead and try it out and make sure it works. Okay, we can see by default the message is not on the screen. When the player's mouse goes inside the object, it appears. And then when the mouse leaves, it disappears. Alright, and before we end with this video, I'll show you two different ways that you can add text to your message. So one way that you can add text to your message is by using the properties menu. You can scroll down to the section right here and input your message in the text option. The other way to do it would be on the local script. So let's go ahead and do it here. The way you're going to add text to this text label is by saying message.text, and that's going to be equal to, you're going to put quotation marks and then whatever you want the text to be. Alright, so let's just go ahead and use that as an example and see how it looks. Okay, so whenever the player moves their mouse inside the object, you see the message right here. and when it leaves, it disappears. Alright, so that's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for the next one.